And I'm on. Beep beep went off. I have this 15-second clock in my head before I speak because I let my intro do its thing, and sometimes I may catch the intro because when I edit I'm looking at time. Usually around the 15-second mark, but welcome in. It's good to be here, and it's good to really know what we're here, what we're doing, and let's just go ahead. And I just really have been deep diving in myself, right? In finding, and I'm just kind of seeing these patterns in this reality, in the experience, especially when diving deep in a company into my subconscious, right? Into the biggest part of us with the most potential, trying to enlighten your subconscious, or trying to what many call the unconscious mind, right? Which is the similar to what we come from, the void. It's like the void came with us too. It's called the subconscious mind. It holds space, it holds shadows. We'll go there when we, because I want to tell you, most of our healings and hurts are 99.9 childhood. And when it happens as an adult, it's linked to that childhood because that frequency drew it back to you as an adult. Because the paradox was there, the frequency was there, and you don't get what you want, you get what you are. And this is why it's so important at this time. I mean, we talked about timeline splits of being able to equip yourself, but giving yourself grace with really fully healing yourself. And I know you can't get every speck, because we're talking about multiple lifetimes also, right? But we're going to talk about something I find very, very interesting. I will share. I'm calling this like the paradox experience with duality and shifts. What happens during our shifts when we shift? When we shift into another eyesight spectrum, what happens when you get these kind of shifts? And we're going to talk about that. We're going to go a little bit in deep. Let's get going. I'm not going to go on and on. I can do that. So we're going to get right to the busy business today. And we are going to definitely do this. Let me move this top that you can't see so I can see. And I have two. This is almost like the words of the day connected to the connected vibe. It's almost like, hey, these two have been integrated today. The words of the day, because it's two words I'm dealing with, duality and paradox, and then we're going to deal with the reality of the connected vibe, how this is really very connective to us on a deeper sense of our experience of ascension through the alchemical journey, because everything changes with that. So, a background. Before we go into this word, I just want to say that I just noticed that in this world of the reality, we have all these paradoxes. It's like, that doesn't make sense, but then when we look at it deeper, it's the reality, it's true. It's like the old saying, even two things can be true, right? And this would go in the duality plane, and the duality touches in its lowest density point in the 3D reality, which we are in. And maybe it would be the 1D and 2D that could be a little bit more denser, but this is really a dense duality and paradoxal shifts coming to us right before us all the time. These scales, right? Like the scales in that we've kind of go into Egyptology or Egypt, we seen the scales where in the end your heart needs to be lighter than a feather, type of thing. The balancing act of finding light, right? And where everything is connected to even the paradox within us. We have our mind, but yet we have our gut and our heart, which are minds too. We have the paradox of logical thinking, which we can take numbers and solutions that are very evident that you found this out by by doing this, then we have the intuitive mind, which is not something that you can find evident, but which is really operates from a different brain, different mind, different brain. It's not operating on the same sense. It operates different. It shifts. The shifting of different things we do when we start transmuting ourselves and these different ailments or these different hurts or these different realities, we start shifting and we start integrating, right? The integration, even in the, I'm going to use a duality of integration. Integration, if it was a coin, right, would be one side would be heads, one side would be tails. One side of integration is the other side is actually healing. And this is what I really found out. And my biggest growth, I'm going to be honest, in the last years have been the last 3 or 4 months when I was told to go into alchemy to teach it. I knew of it, just like I knew of Gnosticism, but I really didn't go through what happens with Gnosticism, right? What really Gnosticism is. I've never been trained by a Gnostic. We never had these secret societies, and anybody can find them now. And I'm not talking about the ones that hijack reality. I'm talking about Gnosticism. I'm talking about exotericism. And I got to do this. I wasn't going to record today, but my higher self said, get on it now, and gave me some information. So I'm going to have at least 2, and I'm open to more because I could feel the marination. But I'm bringing the fan over because I'm starting to get hot. Just give me a second. Hear me. I'm coming back. Got my fan, trusty fan. Got to make sure I can pull it over. It integrated to me, right? Okay. That's okay. Need this fan. Need it because we are still in the early part of the third part of October, is we're the 9th today. But what I was saying is the integration aspect of it. So let's read what these 2 meanings are, and then I'm going to put something together that shows us what happens with shifts and how this is connected to even balance. So a statement contrary to common belief or expectation, and directly from the Latin paradoxium, paradox, a statement seemingly absurd yet really true. Incredible statement or opinion used from the adjective of neuter, contrary to expectation, incredible. The opinion, we're not really dealing with opinions, originally from the notions absurd, fantastic, meaning a statement that seemingly seems self-contradictory but yet illogical and untrue, but the statement actually would bring you into is true. Even when I read the paradox at the end, I'm seeing that, man, I was teaching this when I was talking about higher reasoning. If you read the last paragraph, it talks about higher reasoning, and I got to get these glasses off. I'm really sweating, but that's okay. The fan's on me. If I need to turn the air on today, I will. I got a little bit of space here. This felt lead. I was actually on my way out to do some things, and my higher self said, share today. Go into lab. Do the lab today. Other things can wait. And I was obedient to that because I really understand that these aspects of ourselves, which are paradox to each other, are really the opposites that attract each other. The paradox is connected to the reality of duality, and that's why opposites are attracted to each other in every form and fashion. The abundance to scarcity is the opposite of each other, right? Abundance and scarcity is the opposite of each other. Which reality do you create, and then how do you balance the other side when you decide to be abundant, but don't allow the abundance to go into egoism where you feel that everything is about having abundance and it ends up being accumulated outside of you, which is really can end up being through ego and attachment. It's all about you. This example of what we're really living is really what I'm seeing is finding the paradoxes, seeing the similarities, and then integrating them, right? And as we integrate them, and I'm going to read this again, so I'm going to keep it up for a bit because I'm going to read the duality too. I'm just letting my sweat go down a little bit because I couldn't read because I was getting the sweat in my eyes. But what I see is a lot of times, and I've noticed this, and I've been in this 30 something years, that when I really took on the aspects of seeing that we need to live, and sometimes by our own thinking, we bypass and we lie to ourselves unless we really embrace our triggers. We went over that with Gabby, and embracing the dark side. And I noticed I put the video out, the dark side. It needs more watches. That's a deep one. And I noticed some of my deeper ones don't get the watches that some of my highlighted ones get, like bringing on guests and stuff. When I go deeper, obviously it's not getting the watches because it's deeper to me. I just see it because I'm like, wow, this one's not getting the watches some of the other ones have. I'm just being honest. And I go, that one was deep. So it's really deep, calling to deepen a lot of this. Are you ready to absorb and teach yourself lessons? Allow it be lessons, because your subconscious, which is the greatest part of you, is like your ocean of potential. It would be the monad in the quietness of where you came from, that monad, that place of full, everything is nothing, nothingness is all, nothingness of full psychic potential and potentialities that can be impregnated with impossibilities all at once. You got this whole plethora of capabilities and abilities and possibilities that can be impregnated anytime with your creative, when the light hits in that place, in shifts, right? That causes a shift. I was trying to get, when we look at things that happen to us, right? And we talk about this a lot. We need to start living and not it happening to us, but us happening to it, meaning adopting it. The very hardest lessons are when you see the nakedness of yourself in front of you and realize that you even are lying to yourself, but then you can be unaware because you're not really going into your healing, because you can lie to yourself and say you healed something and you just really walked around it and got to a place and say, look, I did this and did this, I'm healed, but really you're not. And how do I know I did it? And when I've adopted this last journey recently, I've seen it even recently of, do you know that your higher self is you? And you might say, what's the paradox? The paradox is that your lower self's you and you're getting information from your higher self, but the higher self is you. But yet it's assisting you to go to the higher self, but yet it is you. That's a paradox. It's you, but it's not. It's not me as myself now. What are you saying? But yet when I know into the higher quantum stuff, it's all happening at once. That's very deep. Let me see if there's some more stuff I wanted to read, but it's paradox I was seeing. Out of the opinions, or, out of the English phrases it's giving us what type of English. It was originally the notions of being absurd, fantastic. Right? Absurd, fantastic. A statement that is seemingly self-contradictory yet not illogical or obviously untrue. Meaning, the paradox that I just gave you example of self being a self that's ascending, but your ascendant self, which is a type of ascendant, comes where we get the word ancestor, descendants, ascendants, right? We descended from the ascendant is I'm just speaking on a level of even your ancestors, is a paradox. Your paradox in that is true, but absurd, but fantastic. I wanted to even read this last part. The part I was reading was a statement of proposition and following sound reasoning, yet it leads to a logical conclusion by the 1903, right? Let's go a little bit paradoxical. Of the nature of paradox, meaning inconsistent with itself, is by the 1630s, competing forms of paradoxal, but these survive in niches in all, which I see the niches as almost like catching what we were talking about in one of the recent videos, is catching nuances. That to me, when I see that aspect of it, it's really telling me you're catching the truth in the nuance, because the nuance is connected. So think about this. When I go into a shift, you go into a shift. Just like if the earth shifts, the physical shifts, right? The gears shift in the car. It creates a change. You find another reality, but it also changed the paradox to another paradox comes in, meaning the other side of the truth that you found to be your real reality now shifts the other side of the reality in the paradox. Hence, why does it shift it? This is why when the shift comes, you have to be aware of self and you at the highest parts of you, right? Are you integrating? Because this is where integration comes during the shift. Because of the shift change, there's another paradox, and the shift requires balance and integration, healing, to integrate these two new shifting poles that shifted different places now. Now there's a new paradox created on the other side of your shift. Boom. This is us being aware of certain things that we have modeled that really end up not being real, but create a buffer for us to accept things that we really start lying to ourselves because we're not going in the spaces of your subconscious and embrace it, because it's you and it's the biggest part of your void or your monad or your nothingness is all capabilities, shiftings, responsibilities, consciousness awareness. And as one side shifts to the other side shifts, like for many years, we talked about the earth even has its own chakras, and the chakras are alive in Central America, like Costa Rica and places like that. They're not in other places that they have shifted from. So this shift created a new paradox. And in the new paradox, even in the earth, there requires a balance. And this balance is going to give you within self, when you shift into the paradox, this statement, this reality is requiring us to be able to use a scale and a system to go in by your awareness, see it, integrate it, and balance it. Go in, integrate it, and a balance, what? The paradox. Because this would go into the statement. There's two things that can be correct at the same time. Because when you go into this new awakening, the awakening connected to it starts shifting. You start even awakening from the awakening. Because you awaken, go to sleep. Awaken to the next level. Sleep from the next level. Wake to the next level. This paradox is being there as we go to a higher. Once you get fifth and above, the subtle becomes very obvious in nuances, because the power of the density decreases in the ether, because it's the most powerful here in the 3D, where we keep having samsara paradox of karmic relationships, karmic ideas. And that's why I said, have you balanced out your karma? Karma's a teacher, not a harsh ruler. But the lack of knowledge will, I won't say it'll destroy you, but will hold you back from not seeing. And then you're living, what happens if you're not investing in you? You're investing in your ego, in the outside game of what you appear to be true, which is temporal, which can go into an ego sense of the reality, which is going to always lead you into wanting more physical, wanting more attachments, wanting more this, wanting more that, want, instead of just be, and you can draw what you need because you're living in that emphasis of integration and awareness, which will be, you'll see in every aspect, and you go, I don't, no, I don't dance that dance because I know what comes with that dance. That's not my frequency and vibe anymore. Healing. Notice that kneeling and healing sound the same. Rhyme. Can make a rap out of it, right? So what am I saying? I'm saying that when you really look at this, you start seeing the reflections of yourself, because this is really what we talked about in the past, but I see in a different realm right now as I'm seeing it. This would be the mirroring effect. We are living in a place where we start mirroring. We start seeing the reflections of these mirrors, these images or realities, and we have to look at it, because notice this. If you start looking in the mirror, you can see yourself, but you may see yourself differently. Meaning right is left and left is right in the paradox. Because right in the mirror, the right hand is different than the person looking in the mirror. When you look at yourself in the mirror, you go right hand. But when you look in the mirror and go, for me, that's the left hand. That's the opposite. But this is why I should just do a video on this, what I'm going to say next, and not say it and just use a video on it or go into it. This is why the mirroring effect is why the past is the future is the past, and the now is all of them at once. The present. That's the gift. That's why the gift on the highest realm of evolving, once you get past 5D and go into 6D and 7D, you're no longer your lower self. You are the higher self, or your future self, if you want to call it. But your future is your past. That's why it's called backwards or backwards. Backwards, ARDS, WARDS, or WORDS. The past is your future. That's why they say, well, the history repeats itself. The past always repeats itself. Why? Because the past becomes the future, because we don't live in a straight, we're not linear. We're not. It's a circle. It keeps going. It hooks back in. It's a spiral, like the 8. The energy moves in spirals. It doesn't move in linear straight. It moves in spirals. That's why it's called spirit. Spiral. Spiral and spirit are the same. That's why you take the infinity and put it down, it becomes a racetrack. A 8, right? You take the infinity sign, put it down, it's affinity. Up's right side up, it's an 8. 8 and affinity go together. Why? Because this is the movement of energy in the paradox. It doesn't move linear. We haven't even got to duality. Let's see if they're paradoxal. Holding and defending opinions contrary to the general prevalent. That's what will happen. That's why you guys are enlightened. You guys are enlightened to a higher sense of understanding and knowing and belief systems. And when the beliefs become a reality, then it no longer, you're living your beliefs, you're becoming knowers. There's a difference between knowing and believing. Light years knowing. So what we're looking at here is, I think we're good with that word. Let's go to the next. Twofold nature, state of being two or divided in two. From the Latin, it contains two, the dual member duality, entries duality, and then it goes in Indo-European, meaning two. It goes into balance, look at that, in between, balance. All this diplomacy, duality, diet, duet, twain, become, that's actually good on that aspect. But the reality is living into your fullest knowing and not allowing even your ego to have the space to believe lies that we all are. I just seen it recently. I mean, so when I got the information, I started seeing things different. When I realized I need to go deep dive in this aspect of myself, and when I did, I seen things that I didn't know, and then I seen how we even will live a fantasy to ourselves and not know it, and you're really lying or playing yourself by not really understanding that you need to integrate, which is healing. Integration's healing. We not only went through things in our lives with parents. I mean, a lot of you guys are the latchkey kids where neither parent was home. They both were working. This isn't what our ancestors did. They didn't live like that. They didn't play that game. There was aspects of why you had one aspect of opposites: a mother, feminine energy, a father, masculine energy, and their aspects of their energetic fields and then we come from people who didn't know, right? They didn't know the higher realms of this to teach us even as children, right? We found out we had to be awakened. It became so dense down here that the God, or the paradox was, the God had to go down and wake himself up in the lowest density because everybody's in sleeping amnesia and they're not being budged out of the amnesia. And he said, I got to go shake them up. I got to go shake myself up within myself in the lower density of the ones wrapped in flesh who are so suffering such spiritual amnesia. They're not even recognizing, and now they're not harmonizing, and now they're missing life after life. You become almost stuck and addicted to matter. That's the only reason you would have people trying to dominate matter and have control over people staying in matter, because they've actually placed themselves as matter as their power. They just want to be matter folks. They don't want to pay the price, do the work to elevate themselves. So they decided, we'll just control them by reigning and keep living in matter, because we don't really want to pay the price because we are stuck in matter. And then we've had the spiritual amnesia, and somebody, all of us have. Do you remember your dream last night? If you don't, that's how easy it is. But anyways, the paradox, the duality, and the balance of this, and the shift, the duality, the paradox duality, and the shifting of balance. This is, I think, what I'll call it. Integration, awareness, discernment, balance by your awareness tool. I had a video, and I'm closing. I had a video I just talked about the other day. I did a off the cuff in my car. I could have called this off the cuff, but in my car. And I was just kind of thinking about it. It hit me was how my awareness caught myself being unaware in time, and then gave me what to do to stay in it in time. Where before this would happen and it would be like hours later, next day, and he goes, did you remember you're really unaware at this time? At certain times when you're driving, I'd be, yeah, I have to do this and I have to do this. I need to be more aware. I need to do this, and I'm going through this. But now the awareness has got such a connection because I've went into the spaces of my darker side of my unconscious mind, and we're starting to put light in our unconscious by doing this. We're starting to illuminate the unconscious, which is a whole different level of transmutation by doing this, that can even go higher self stuff. You guys have a great day. Great day.